Welcome back to another FPL video. Today we're going to be discussing a lot of different FPL assets and whether you should keep them, buy them, avoid them, or sell them if you own them. So we've got a lot of players to go through in this video. No messing about. Drop a like if you enjoy. Subscribe to this channel. It takes 1 second. If you don't mind subscribing, it would be very much appreciated for daily FPL content. And we'll jump straight into this video. So I think there's no better way to start this video by talking about Cole Palmer. Now another return for him, and he picked up a 6-pointer against Nottingham Forest. I mean, a lot of people did do the transfer of Saka to Cole Palmer, and that transfer didn't work out at all. But if you own Cole Palmer as well as owning Saka, then happy days, because realistically Haaland didn't return, Salah didn't return. At least Palmer did get something, but the real winners of the weekend were bukayo Saka owners. But Cole Palmer now is 10.8 million and he's up to 50% ownership, so half of the game owns Cole Palmer, which sounds mental. As a non-Cole Palmer owner, I am a bit concerned about that. But we're going to be discussing how he is as a transfer in, just to get it out there. I mean, if you already own Cole Palmer, he's 100% a keep. You don't get rid of him. This is more for people that don't own Cole Palmer like myself, and a plan if you are to get him or if you are to avoid him. But look at them stats. I mean, XGI per 90 of 0.89, 67 points already this season, 6 goals and 5 assists. It's been a crazy start to the season for Cole Palmer, and 100,000 transfers in already this week, and I expect that to be a lot more as the international break does come to an end. But the fixtures, the thing that puts me off Cole Palmer is the next fixture. Now, he's someone that's definitely, of course, on my radar for FPL Gameweek 8. But the thing that's just kind of making me, talk myself out of it is the next 4 fixtures. But especially the next fixture against Liverpool. Liverpool have been the best defence in the Premier League so far this season. I know that Cole Palmer's got a great record against the big 6 clubs, and it doesn't really matter who Palmer plays against. But it doesn't look as appealing, when he's got a fixture against Liverpool away to bring him in for that week. So for me to get Cole Palmer, I'm going to be discussing this a bit later on in another video later on in the week. But, it would have to be to downgrade Trent and then upgrade Luis Diaz. Now the question is, I got a lot of questions on, will Luis Diaz start against Chelsea? If he's starting, I don't mind keeping him. And then, is it a good decision to get rid of Trent or not? Even though he has got a difficult run of fixtures coming up, it is still a tough decision to get rid of Trent. So for me, I'm not completely sold on doing this transfer this week, but maybe I sound absolutely mental, because Cole Palmer is 100% a buy. If you want to get Cole Palmer, he's a season keeper and he is going to keep rising in price. So 100% Cole Palmer is a buy. But for my team personally, is he a transfer in this week? Maybe not. Maybe not. And if I don't get him in against Liverpool, he will be coming in against Newcastle for me. I'm thinking of maybe just holding off this transfer for 1 more week and just, taking a risk in terms of if Cole Palmer, does go big against Liverpool, I'm in serious trouble. But I'm thinking not transfer him in this week, hold my transfer, bring him in against Newcastle at home and Man United away, because those 2 fixtures are actually good. Once he's got this Liverpool fixture out of the way, you could argue 3 of his next 4 fixtures are good fixtures, and you wouldn't put it past him to score against Arsenal as well. So you'd say after that, that's 4 good games. Liverpool, I think, is the worst fixture. Liverpool away is the worst fixture out of the next 5 games, in my opinion, with Liverpool having the best defence so far this season, and then being away from home as well against Liverpool at Anfield is a tough game. There's no doubt about it for Chelsea. That's not to say that I don't think Cole Palmer will return. I'm just thinking of maybe chancing it and going 1 more week without Cole Palmer and bringing him ahead of that Newcastle and United game. But let me know what you think of that. Does that sound silly? I mean, a lot of people probably already own Palmer. So if you already own him, of course, it's a keep. But if you're looking at maybe holding off on a transfer, I wouldn't be against it. But as I say, at the same time, if you want to bring him in, absolutely go for it. Because I do think he'll do well against Liverpool. But it's just the toughest fixture out of the 5 games, and it's tough for me to make a transfer in and justify it with that. Now, my next player is Luis Diaz that I want to talk about. He's currently been transferred out by 45,000 managers. That'll be a lot more by the time the game week ends. He's still highly owned at 35%, 8.1 million. I expect that to drop throughout the international break. Obviously, with him being, put onto the bench and Cody Gakpo coming on, starting the game against Crystal Palace and picking up an assist. Doesn't look too great for Luis Diaz. So I still think this isn't the end for Luis Diaz. A lot of people thought, I'll cast your minds back to 2 weeks ago, when everybody thought Jota was done. He didn't start and everybody got rid of him, and look at what Jota's gone on to do. Who's to say that Luis Diaz can't do the same thing? Now, the fixtures are tougher for Liverpool coming up the next 2, but for me, I own Luis Diaz. If he's starting, if I know that he's got a good chance of starting, which I do think he still has a good chance of starting, I think Liverpool will put out their strongest team against Chelsea, and Luis Diaz is in the strongest team for me for Liverpool. He's been their best player, or one of their best players so far this season. Like, if he's starting against Chelsea, I genuinely just think I might just keep him and just hold him for another week and see how he gets on. And then you know, against Arsenal away, then that is a tougher fixture than Chelsea. You know, because he's away from home against one of the best defences in Arsenal. Chelsea is a little bit of a better fixture at home, and Chelsea haven't kept too many clean sheets this season. So I'm thinking of holding the transfer for a week, maybe going with Luis Diaz for one more week and then moving to Cole Palmer. That might be that's kind of what I'm going for at the moment, but obviously my mind could very much change. But if I had Luis Diaz, I'd definitely hold him until we get concrete news, and later on, you know, what happens in the international break, if anybody's come back injured or anything like that. But in my opinion, I think Liverpool will play their strongest team, first game back from the international break. They'll play their strongest team against Chelsea. And for me, Luis Diaz is in that strongest team. So that's my reasoning for maybe holding him for at least another one game week. And who's to say that he doesn't score against Chelsea, and then, you know, then you're looking at a great decision that you've kept him in. So for me, it's a hold for now until we get concrete news. But if you're looking to bring him in, I would not be bringing him in at all. He's already had 45,000 transfers out, as I say, and he's definitely a void if you're thinking about bringing him in, which I don't think many people are. But for me, he's a hold unless you really want to go to a Cole Palmer, or you maybe want to downgrade him to someone else who we're going to discuss later on in this video, which is a fair enough transfer, or downgrade him massively to maybe that someone at about 5.5 million that looks quite good. I don't mind it at all. But for me personally, I'm going to be keeping him, and I do still think he will start against Chelsea. And if he's starting against Chelsea, I'm not going to lie, I do kind of want him for that game because I think it's a decent enough fixture for Liverpool. But let me know, what are you going to do with Luis Diaz if you have him? Now moving on to our third player, is a player that I feel like I have to discuss. Already 110,000 transfers in, still very low owned. It is Brennan Johnson of Spurs. Now, he just keeps coming up with goals. I watched him play against Brighton the other day, and he was absolutely amazing. I thought, you know, getting on the end of the attacking move to Spurs. He's not really as much as a creator as you can see with his expected assists of 0.08, but XG 0.54 per 90 is really good. And as I say, he's just on the end of the moves. Like, you know, he's just seems to get himself in the right position in a Spurs attack, which has been very impressive so far this season. Scored a lot of goals, and as well as that, created a lot of chances. One of the best attacks in the league. 6.5 million. If Brennan Johnson is starting week in, week out, then he's undoubtedly a great option. It's just the question is, you know, a couple of bad games, I feel like Johnson would be out of the side, but if he keeps playing how he's playing, there's no way he's getting dropped from that right wing position. And Spurs have a pretty settled starting 11, but it's until Son comes back, you know, what happens with a team when Son does come back into the side. You imagine just Werner comes out and then Son comes back in, but it's more minutes that will be rotated, you'd imagine, with Europa League and fixtures for Spurs. But Brennan Johnson, for me, is a buy, to be honest. He's not someone that I'm going to be buying in my personal team because I can't really just fit that transfer in. But if you're looking at a transfer around that price point, for me, Brennan Johnson is 100% a buy. With the form that he's in, the fixtures that Spurs have got, if you look at them games, West Ham at home, great fixture. Palace away is a good fixture. Villa at home is still a good fixture, I'd say. Ipswich at home. The next four are really, really nice. And even Man City away, Spurs always seem to pick up a result against Man City, and City just don't really seem to keep too many clean sheets, to be honest. So Brennan Johnson isn't even a bad option for the next 5 game weeks. So if you're looking at a transfer in around that price point, for me, Brennan Johnson would be the number one player at the £6.5 million transfer mark. I mean, if you haven't got him, someone like an Mbeumo who isn't in this video, just because I feel like he's so highly owned and everybody's got him at this point. If you haven't got Mbeumo, he for me is, of course, the number one out of any midfielder for me. Mbeumo is still the number one. But Brennan Johnson, with those stats that he's putting up, the way Spurs are looking going forward, the fixtures coming up, there's a lot to like about Brennan Johnson. 3 goals, 2 assists as well, 5 contributions, and he's on absolute fire. He is the man in form for Spurs right now. Even Maddison as well, 7.5 million looks good, but Brennan Johnson at 6.5 looks absolutely amazing value. So for me, he is definitely a buy if you did want to bring in a player around his kind of price point. Now, I want to discuss a defender. I don't want to go for attackers all the time in this video. This defender that I've gone for is nouri. Now, you might be looking at it thinking, like, what is this? What even is this transfer? Now, I know Wolves have been absolutely shocking defensively. You see there, they've conceded an XG conceded per 90 minutes of 1.95, so they're basically 2 goals a game conceded. But nouri has picked up 2 goals and 2 assists in the opening 8 game weeks. And if you look at his XGI, I mean, he has massively outperformed his XGI, yes, but an XGI of 0.24 for a defender is unbelievable stats going forward. You know, that's rivaling the top defenders in FPL, that is. So for me, he's definitely one to watch. And now the fixtures for Wolves are coming up after Man City are actually very, very decent. And nouri at 4.4 million for a defender that's got that much attacking output. And we've seen it. It's not just like this is a fluke that's happened, you know, just this season or whatever. He's been like this for a few seasons. Not quite to the contributions that he's been getting, but he's always been a very attacking fullback / wing back. and he's got that attacking potential, and he's had it for a few seasons now. So with the fixtures coming up, obviously Man City, for me, if I'm just saying, I think he is a buy. If you're looking to maybe downgrade a Trent somewhere to kind of afford that Cole Palmer move, which I'm doing personally. If I am going to get Cole Palmer in, nouri is my defender that I'm going to be going for. That's the reason why I'm saying he's a buy. As I said, the fixtures after Man City not a good game, but Brighton away isn't terrible, but Brighton are the best defensively, so you'd hope for maybe something going forward. And Crystal Palace at home, Southampton at home, and Fulham away is a nice 3 fixtures. And it is also worth saying that around that kind of price point, it's very difficult to get consistent clean sheets. There's no Premier League team that's been keeping a massive amount of clean sheets that, other than United have kept a few clean sheets, to be fair to them, despite having a terrible defence. They do just seem to get either concede a lot of goals or keep a clean sheet. And then there's United. Liverpool obviously have a great defence. Man City concede a lot of goals, to be fair. They always seem to concede. Arsenal have been conceding recently. There's not been a team that's really got a massive amount of clean sheets other than Liverpool. And maybe just favouring a player at 4.4 million who's got that attacking output, who has got a good run of hits, you could potentially chip in with maybe a clean sheet. Obviously, Wolves have been terrible defensively, we know that. But you never know. You could fluke a clean sheet, and he's also got that potential for an attacking return. 30,000 transfers in isn't a lot. Hopefully, he doesn't rise in price by the time I do bring him in. If I bring him in this week or next week, I just think he's a great option. He's an exciting option as well. You want to have a defender that at least has got that attacking potential, as I say, with not many clean sheets coming around. So, nouri, I really like the option. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. But an XGI of 0.24 is right up there for defenders so far this season. And at 4.4 million, he has potential to be a really good option who not many people I don't think are talking about at the moment. Hence why he's so far down the list on transfers in this week. Just because White Wolves' defence is pretty shambolic overall. Now, the next player I wanted to discuss is Diogo Jota. Now, the fixtures for Jota, I've got him in the wrong colours there, which isn't ideal for me. But, the fixtures there are, it's quite a difficult run for Liverpool coming up now. Sorry I put that as the wrong fixture colours. I just messed that up. But Chelsea at home isn't a bad fixture for Jota if he's starting. Arsenal away is a pretty tough fixture. Brighton at home isn't bad. Aston Villa isn't bad, and Southampton isn't bad. So it's not too bad, to be honest, for Liverpool going forward. I don't think it's anything to worry about. But Diogo Jota for me is just an avoid. Like, realistically, if you're doing the transfer Jota to Diaz, I just don't rate it as a move at all, because you know what could happen. You never know what could happen. Nunes could come straight into the team, and then it's a rotation risk. But what I would say with Jota is his position is, in my opinion, less threatened than Luis Diaz in terms of he's up against Darwin Nunes, who just isn't a better player than Cody Gakpo. Cody Gakpo has looked really good whenever he's played this season. Darwin Nunes has looked good in spells. But Jota, for me, I just wouldn't go near him. I'm a bit scarred after last time, to be honest. As I say, he could very well do well. Like, for the people that stuck with Jota, who, didn't go to Luis Diaz or didn't wildcard or whatever, had Jota the whole time, they're absolutely laughing because he's got 3 contributions in his last 2 games. And who's to say that he can't continue this? Like, absolutely. If he's starting, he is a great pick. So it maybe sounds silly that I'm saying avoid. It's just the fact that if you're going from Luis Diaz to Jota and like bouncing about between these players, you're probably better off just going for a guaranteed starter and just ignoring the Liverpool players, and then not having that kind of worry going into every single game, checking the team news, seeing if Jota's in the team or not, and then getting frustrated, because he would be a very frustrating player to own. He has been for me personally. But that's not to say he's not a bad option, because going forward, he has that potential to really do well and get points, because I think the only real bad fixture there is Arsenal away, which he can still very well score against them. The other fixtures aren't even that bad for Liverpool going forward. So if you're going to go for him, it's do it at your own risk, you know what I mean? But he has the potential to do well, no doubt about it. But for me personally, he is just an avoid. Now, the final player we're going to talk about is bukayo Saka of Arsenal. Now, the fixtures are a little bit tougher for Arsenal coming up. Obviously, he's just come off the back of that 16-point haul against Southampton, which was desperately needed for my team personally after the disappointments of Leicester. He's already had 35,000 transfers in, and the fixtures coming up are very much indifferent. Because even Forest away in the 5th game isn't an easy game. Forest have proved to be that they're a tough side to break down. So, especially, they've gone to Anfield, they've gone to Stamford Bridge, and they've played well in both games and only conceded 1 goal in the 2 matches. But Saka's XGI across the season so far per 90 is 0.82 is very impressive numbers, and 51 points overall, 2 goals and 7 assists. Hope we can keep chipping in with a few goals. We need him to do that. Obviously, the assists are very, very good. Bournemouth up next is a very nice fixture in all fairness. Liverpool at home is a little bit tougher after that, but then Newcastle and Chelsea I don't think is too bad, and Nottingham Forest. And these kind of players, Saka, Palmer, Haaland, Salah, these players, I don't think it really matters too much who they play against. Obviously, you can look into it a little bit, but I wouldn't read into the fixtures too much with players like this just because they're so good and and they're playing for a team which is equally as good as their team that they're playing, and it's going to be a close game, and there could be goals in it, and chances are Saka would be involved in any Arsenal goal with the way that he's playing so far this season. So the fixtures aren't something that I would be put off by. So for me, if you're looking at it and you've only got Palmer and you can find a way up to Saka by downgrading elsewhere, whatever, I'd do it. To be honest, I'd say Saka is a buy personally, just for them reasons. And again, as I say, I think he's a season keeper. For me, I mean, obviously your mind can change so quick in FPL because after game week 3 it looked like it's got to be a Salah and Haaland draft. Like, what are you doing if you don't have both? Now it's like, now Salah's being kind of pushed to the side and it's more about Cole Palmer, and then it's about Bukayo Saka now as well. Like, for me, maybe the way forward is to just go for Haaland, Bukayo Saka and Palmer as the 3, and obviously accept that Salah's going to get points some weeks, and then accept that other players like Trent as well are going to do well. But I think those are the 3 that I'm looking at the moment, just owning all 3. I've already got Saka, so for me, if you obviously have him, he's a keep. And then for me, maybe trying to get to Cole Palmer next week could be the way forward. As I say, I'll discuss that later on. But for me, Bukayo Saka's 100% a buy. But if I was to rank the players, I'd still go for Haaland number 1, just because then fixtures coming up for Haaland. And then Cole Palmer will be number 2, Bukayo Saka number 3, and Salah number 4. That's off right now, but then you never know. Salah might just go banging a hat-trick, and then everybody's laughing and saying that Salah's the one that you need to be choosing. That's how it kind of is in FPL. But let me know what you think of those players in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching, and do leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new around here. It'd be very much appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.